and the live stream on Facebook. Second. Is that Andrew Bacchus there? Would you like to take over?
Hi, Ted. Morning.
Okay, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's nice to have you all here. So Sho and I are co-leading on today's event, and we're going to be speaking about hydrogen cities. We have a few slides, and we're going to cover Lancaster, California, South Korea, 3 cities out of South Korea, and Japan as well. I'll be presenting to slide 4 or 5, and then I'll pass it over to Sho as well. But I think the bulk of you know me. I'm a former board member with Switch. I was a treasurer, and this year I've been leading on, with Harriet, we've been co-leading this hydrogen working group. So this is our last event for the year. We've had 4, and this is number 4, and we've discussed various applications of hydrogen, from policy to commercial uptake. And today we're going to cover some of the implementations and city-led strategies. I don't know if a lot of you know Sho, however, so why don't I pass it to him to introduce himself, and then I'll share my slides and I'll start the presentation. Thanks. Over to you, Sho.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So good morning, everybody. I'm relatively new to the Switch. So I'm a PhD student at Queen's, and I'm working on some electrocatalysis, then try to apply my catalyst for kind of battery stuffs. Then I have been studying like not only batteries, but also like a hydrogen related research when I was in master program at one of the Japanese universities. Then I've been interested in like a renewable energy technologies. Then like when I saw the hydrogen study group in Switch, I was like really excited. So like when Andrea asked me to like host one of the last sessions here, like I'm really happy to hear that. Then today I would like to talk about some hydrogen cities with Andrew. And I hope you guys can get some interesting and exciting information about really amazing smart cities in probably 20 or 30 years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sho. And actually, everyone, we should go around and just do quick introductions, because I realize there are actually a few names that I don't recognize. So why don't I pass it to Harriet? Just a quick introduction, a few sentences about yourself. And then who's ever speaking, if you could just pass it over to another speaker. Okay. And we should get through in about 5 minutes. Thanks, Harriet.
Thank you, Andrew. Harriet Waterman, formerly retired from NRCI RAP, former board member of Switch, and glad to be here. So John, we'll head to you next.
Excuse me. Good morning, all. I'm calling in from Belleville, and I'm on the board of directors of Emmanuel Residence, which is a social housing project for senior citizens, low income. Thank you.
Now you have to pass it. Well, okay, Spencer, you want to go next?
Hi, Spencer Bardell, technician at Cameron Kingston and Electric Vehicle Association of Kingston founder. And happy to be here.
David, our fearless leader.
Oh, well, former fearless leader, I guess. David Hindman, current president and board chair of Switch. I want to give, in case it doesn't happen at the end, a huge shout out to Andrew and Harriet for making this happen on top of the regular monthly Switch meetings. This has been very informative, and I think there should be some around the table discussion with Switch as where we want to take this later, and
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, I would say, in fact, 80% Andrew and 20% Harriet. But anyways, Sharish. You have to unmute. There we go. Perhaps your volume, I'll let you figure out the volume. I have my volume off, so we'll go to Darko.
Yeah, sorry, Sharish, we can't hear you. Maybe if you want to just put the introduction in the chat and we'll read it out.
Darko.
Good morning, Darko Matovic, Vice Chair of Switch Board, and happy to learn something about hydrogen. I'm more into biomass and so on for sustainable energy, but this is a very interesting topic.
Thank you. Kim?
Hi, Kim McCauley, and I'm a professor of chemical engineering at Queen's, and I'm happy to be here today.
Harry?
Oh, hi, good morning, everyone. Harry Sullivan, Executive Director for the Kingston Construction Association. And, you know, when I saw the invitation, I was certainly very interested. I guess this morning I'd like to learn more about both the science and the practical of hydrogen and hydrogen-based fuels. So thank you.
Welcome. Chiari?
Hi, everyone. I am Chiari Gonibulama. I am a board member and I'm professor at RMC.
Thank you. Chad? You're muted, Chad.
Chad Joshi with Advonics International. We're a maker of renewable chemicals for personal care and lubricants. Use a lot of hydrogen in our processing.
Thanks, Chad. Brad Pepley.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Brad Pepley. I'm a professor at Queen's University in chemical engineering, and I've been working in hydrogen energy since about 1986, I think. That's the last time I checked. And currently working on electrolyzers for producing hydrogen and working on a course to try to educate Queen's students on clean energy and the possibilities of hydrogen.
Thanks, Brad. Mark Shipley.
Hi, Mark Sibley. I'm a member of Switch and also 350 Kingston. I've become the webmaster there, and we're working on trying to get a municipal solar project on the go. Thanks.
There you go, Mark. I need to send you some pictures. Sorry, I've been distracted with things.
Thank you.
Andrew. Oh, you want to wait until the end?
Yeah, I can. I've already introduced myself.
Okay, so, all right. Craig Olivier.
In the chat, so Craig is from Belleville, involved with the Green Party, and received the invitation from Rick Jones. And he's looking forward to what everyone has to say. Thanks, Craig.
Gavin?
Gavin Hutchison with 350 Kingston, was a member of Switch, will probably join again. And, or maybe I did just last month, I'm not sure. And looking forward to today's presentation.
Craig, sorry, that was Craig. Lois McNeil. Okay, we'll come back to you, Lois. Carol McKay.
Hello, Harriet. I'm here as an interested observer and a strong supporter of hydrogen, and I constantly wonder, knowing what's going on all over the world, why we're not hearing more about hydrogen in Canada.
Super, thanks, Carol. Irene.
Good morning, everyone. I'm new to these sessions. I am with a company called Aslan Technologies. I'm Vice President of Corporate Partnerships. And we are a manufacturing company putting packaged and modular water, wastewater system and energy systems. And also I'm the board member of Ontario Environment Industry Association. And in our annual event at Queen's Park, we met with MPP in Arthur, and he informed us about these sessions. So that's why I'm here, and look forward to learning about all the activities that you have here. Thank you.
Okay, David Garish.
Hi, I'm Dave Garish. I'm the energy specialist for Queen's Facilities.
Thanks, David. There's Brittany. You just need to unmute.
It's my turn. Hi, I'm new to this group as well. My name is Brittany Bright. I work with a company called Next Hydrogen. I do communications there. So our company makes alkaline electrolyzers, and I'm also, I guess, as you probably saw from my picture on the screen previously, I'm involved with the Hydrogen Business Council, which is an industry association mostly focused on the hydrogen sector here in Ontario, as well as focused on end users for hydrogen in the province as well. And I heard about this this group basically, so someone passed it along to me that that this discussion was going on. So I thought I would join and check out what your group is working on. Thanks for having me. And Harriet, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I realized. Thanks for joining us, Brittany. How about Jay Bradfield?
Hi, I'm Jeff Bradfield. I'm CEO of Anchor Concrete Products and a new product line called Lodestar Structures. We precasting modular precast homes and structures, hoping to create a line of net zero energy off-grid structures, very interested in hydrogen.
Great to see you, Jeff, or hear you at least. How about Tom Brackenberry?
Hi, yes, I'm an electrical distribution engineer with Utilities Kingston, and just interested to understand some of the practical and how soon this technology is going to become available.
Thanks. Dee Matson? Dee Matson and Lois McNeil, you're both muted, and
they put notes in the
it's
chat.
just in the chat. So
Okay,
Lois is
okay.
from Kingston,
All right.
member of the public, and thank you for being here, Lois. And Debbie Matson from Anchor Concrete.
Perfect.
Good morning to you as well.
Over to you, Andrew. Thanks a lot.
That's everyone. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This is a great turnout. So part of our focus has been, sorry, just one second. Part of our focus has been studying policies and global models. And within that framework, there are also full-on city strategies, municipal strategies to not only connect a portion of a city to a hydrogen energy supply, but also to build cities from the ground up as a quote-unquote a hydrogen city. So today we have a few slides, and like I said, we're going to cover the geographies of Korea, California, and Japan. And because of the nature of Sho's technical capabilities and knowledge domain, he's additionally going to speak to the infrastructure for hydrogen-based infrastructure as well as home use fuel cell applications. So firstly, starting off with Korea, what they did in South Korea was they're using, they're communicating and strategizing energy transition as a complement to the COVID economic recovery strategy. Through manufacturing, they've actually lost quite a few jobs in the hundreds of thousands, and they've pivoted that perhaps energy transition can be a mechanism to create millions of jobs. So they come out with a net surplus of maybe 1.2 million, for example. That strategy is pretty detailed and complex, but what I provide on the next couple of slides is just an overview of the scale as something that we can use as a reference point as a country that's pretty progressive on what that might look like. So outside of hydrogen, they're looking to convert their public rental houses to be energy efficient. At 250,000 public houses. They're looking to develop 25 cities that will be smart cities, eco-friendly, and of those 25, 3 in particular will be hydrogen cities. 723 acres of urban forests will be created on conservation strategy, and they're putting out millions of electrical vehicles, but of that, a portion will be hydrogen vehicles. Looking to convert almost 2,000 factories to a quote unquote clean factory. And then dust reduction is another component that seems to run through a lot of their strategy as well. So at some, it's looking like $1 billion package to create 5 hydrogen clusters. But of that, there's the total package is in the hundreds of billions for energy transition. The history of what's happened is that exports have dropped because of COVID to about 24%. So they've really taken a hit in automobile, electronic manufacturing, and steel as well. And at some, it's looking like they lost about 400,000 jobs because of COVID itself. So when we look at these numbers of, $1 billion investments or $100 billion investments, for example, for a stimulus package, just keep in mind it's also because they've lost so many jobs because of COVID. For the energy cluster, there are 5. So there's going to be a green hydrogen production cluster, blue hydrogen, hydrogen storage and transportation cluster, a hydrogen fuel cell cluster, so that's number 4, and then the 5th is a hydrogen mobility cluster. So they're kind of covering off all bases in the way that they're approaching it. And as I said earlier, they're looking to put millions of hydrogen vehicles on the road over the coming years. In the short term, it's about 200,000 that they're looking to put, but at the end of it all, it'll be about $6.2 million, or 6.2 million vehicles, sorry. And what was also neat was that they created a hydrogen economy committee just very recently last year. So it's a pretty serious strategy, and it encompasses a stimulus package, a governance committee, as well as real metrics, like metrics of success and metrics of KPIs that frame the overall strategy. So the 3 cities that they're looking at are Ulsan, Onsan, and Wanju. And they're being created, constructed, integrated with hydrogen in the framework of a pilot city. So if you're familiar with pilots, what that means is that they'll probably do small rollouts. They'll do, incremental testing as they look to get to scale, and it will be built with like a learning model integrated. The use case, just as the bullet point says, it's multiple. It's for both transportation and buildings. And with that, I will pass it to Sho. And everyone, just a reminder, if you have a question, please just unmute your mic and ask away. So Sho, go ahead. And just let me know when you want to go to the next slide. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So this is the picture of the overview for like one of the hydrogen cities in South Korea. But like most likely the infrastructure in hydrogen city should be similar to any hydrogen cities in different countries. Then in this picture, as you can see, there is a hydrogen gas grid connecting to hydrogen refueling stations, hydrogen production plants, and the commercial or residential buildings to supply hydrogen to fuel cells. Then the source of hydrogen is mostly oil or natural gas, byproduct from chemical plants, biogas, and water through the electrolysis process. Then the produced hydrogen from these sources will be transferred through the gas grid. Then the hydrogen could be used for heating or cooking with a conventional gas stove. There are actually some experiments going on in Japan and actually some cities in UK. Then there, the people have been performed the people have been using the mixture of natural gas and the hydrogen. Then they kind of tried to see a damage on gas stove, gas lines, because of the hydrogen usage, and they're investigating some safety issues while they're cooking with the mixture of natural gas and hydrogen. Then in this picture, each house should have like own electricity generating system, such as solar panels and the fuel cells and batteries to efficiently utilize energy from renewables and use of hydrogen. So then in the hydrogen cities, probably both fuel cell electric vehicles and the battery electric vehicles will run in the city. But in general, fuel cell vehicles will be preferred for long distance and heavy duty use than battery electric vehicles for short distance or light duty use. For example, Toyota is planning to place logistic vehicles powered by fuel cells for urban city. Then the total energy demand and supply will be monitored and controlled by AI. Then there may be some distributed power station comprised of fuel cells or batteries around the city. Then AI can run them automatically through online connections to supply electricity to the grid in case of need. Andrew, can you go to the next slide? All right. So the next city that we're going to look at is in California. The city is Lancaster. So this city will become the first hydrogen city in North America. And they are aiming net zero emissions using the huge solar generation capacity, which is already developed, and a hydrogen infrastructure that will be founded from now on. Then the mayor of Lancaster believes that hydrogen is a more stable medium to store energy, not necessarily be electrons, and it makes it easier to balance the grid with their large amount of intermittent renewable sources. Then the city actually proceeded electrification quite well. Then all new houses are now required to install solar panels in the city. Then they also built a large-scale all-electric bus fleet. Then Lancaster actually achieved the total amount of produced energy from renewables more than the energy consumed in 2019. So then in this sense, the city already reached to net zero. Then for your curiosity, the reason why the city has like an abundant solar energy is that they actually have around 300 annual days of sunshine. So that is why they can make sure that they have like a lot amount of solar energy for all residences. Then they achieve that like a net zero energy supply. So then,
is there in any of these, this slide and the last slide, any indication of NIMBYism, as in not in my backyard? Was, you know, I don't want a Hindenburg hydrogen fueling station or compression station in my neighborhood, or is it just everybody's happy and accepting?
I'm not really sure, but I have never heard that there will be some hydrogen station close to, like, right next to the house or backyard. Because, like, for example, like in Ulsan City or like the city in South Korea, there will be some hydrogen pipeline. So hydrogen should be supplied through gas lines. Then probably there should be some like a gas tanks which are, I don't know, located a little farther from residential area. I'm not really sure, but I don't think there will be actual gas tanks sitting right next to houses. Right, any other questions? Can I just, all right, keep going. So then this city has own utility company and local green energy production company, which is called SGH2 Energy. Then this company produces green hydrogen from waste, such as papers, plastics, textiles. Then they achieved a quite low production cost of hydrogen, which is only $2 per kilogram. Then currently the green hydrogen from water electrolysis costs around $12 per kilo. So we can say that Lancaster already has a promising way to produce green hydrogen with a lower cost. Then this fact can incentivize the energy transition in the city to hydrogen-based. So then other projects include the gasification plant and the $100 million anaerobic digestion plant of Hitachi Zosen Ainova to generate biogas from organic waste to produce clean hydrogen. And recently, the city built a hydrogen-centered smart sister cities relationship with a Japanese town called Namie-cho, which is located in Fukushima Prefecture. Then in this town, there's a large-scale green hydrogen production plant, and the produced hydrogen was actually used during Tokyo Olympic 2020. Can you go to the next slide, Andrew? So then the last hydrogen city that we will look at is in Japan, and the city is called Sullivan City. So then the name of the city comes from the unique design of the network of roads in the town, which will be look like an interurban fabric. Then the size of the city will be 700,000 square meters. And there will be 3 types of roads categorized based on their purpose of usage. First one is vehicle lane, which allows only normal zero emission cars, such as fuel cell electric vehicles or battery electric vehicles. Then second one is a personal transport lane. Then pedestrians and personal mobility can share this lane. But the personal mobility doesn't include fuel cell electric vehicles or battery electric vehicles, except e-pallet. This is produced from Toyota. Then you probably may have seen from videos or pictures of Tokyo Olympic, I guess. Then the e-pallet is a fully autonomous battery electric vehicle, and it looks like a small bus. You can see it in the picture at the bottom. So then this is populated with a very slow speed, maximum like a 19 km/h. Then it has a maximum capacity of 20 people. So then the third lane, which will be constructed in the city, is only for pedestrian. Then it will be look like a rose in the linear park with lots of green and flowers. So then each house in Ubon City will have solar panels on top of the roof, of course, and then carbon neutral woods will be used to build the houses. Then interestingly, all the infrastructure in Ubon City will be constructed underground, including fuel cells, batteries, water filtration system, etc. Then, as I mentioned before, AI will play an essential role in balancing the energy demand and supply in the grid. Then there will be stationary fuel cells and batteries, which are connected online. Then AI can run them automatically to supply electricity in case of need. Then hydrogen stations will be built around the city. Then one of Japanese oil companies called Enels will take a lead to build and manage hydrogen stations around Ubon City. Then through the collaboration with Toyota, they're going to promote the introduction of heavy-duty fuel cell electric vehicles in and out of Ubon City. And also they're going to assess the hydrogen demand. Can I go to the next slide, please? So then the Ubon City has three concepts to offer a better quality of life for residents, which are human-centered, living laboratory, and evolving city. Then they will pursue the development of cutting-edge technologies related to robotics, AI, simulations, IoT, etc., to give new services for the residents. Then the city will keep assessing and solving problems to allow each student to find their best and suited lifestyle. And also the city considers a harmony with nature is essential to improve a quality of life. So the residents will be able to feel lots of nature as well. The example of potential services with the new text will be, I don't need to mention, so autonomous mobility such as e-pallet, which will take you around the city, and robots will do daily healthcare at home and support the activity of residents at home, such as carrying stuffs around the house. And you can see the robots, how they're going to help in the house in the bottom picture on the right. I don't know if you can see. So there is a man standing out on the right. Then next to that man, there's a small robot carrying some stuffs. That's just one of the examples. So then the city also aims to help the development of food and agriculture industries and support education for students living in and around the city using the new text. So then another interesting feature of Ubon City is autonomous delivery network that is built underground. And each house has own delivery line connected to the network. So any mails will be sent directly inside of the house from this delivery network. Then the delivery is performed autonomously by robots. Then apparently residents will even put out garbage using this private delivery line. Then robots will carry them to a certain collecting place underground. Then I actually put the link for the video from Toyota in the slide. I don't know if you can see at the bottom. So if you go to the link, you can see a video showing a lot of features of Ubon City and how the company which developing the Ubon City work on different techs, robots, AI, simulations, something like that. It's actually really cool. So if you are interested, just go ahead and take a look at the video. So then around the city, there will be public squares and parks that will allow people to socialize. And in the public space, e-pallet will be used as a rolling stores. And they can become like a food truck, supermarket, convenience stores, etc. Then it is expected to be look like the picture on the top right, as you can see, there are a lot of e-pallets, but they're not being used as like a mobility. They are actually like a stores. So then what Toyota is actually trying to find a lot of usage of e-pallet, not only as mobility, but also like rolling stores. Can I go to the next slide, please, Andrew? So then last one, I'm not really sure how much you are familiar with like a home use fuel cells. So I just make this slide to explain how home use fuel cell looks like and how they can be used. So home use fuel cells in Japan is called NFR, can produce electricity using hydrogen converted from natural gas. Then using the heat released during electricity generation, the system makes hot water. Then currently, there are two types of home use fuel cell systems. And they're sold from several companies such as Panasonic. Then all the apartments in Olympic Village were actually built with this home use fuel cell. Then one of the major benefits from having this system is that you can have electricity and hot water supply in case of emergency, such as blackout. Then as long as the gas line's working, yeah, so you can have electricity and you can have hot water. Then recently, some companies offer a package of the home use fuel cell, batteries, and solar panels. Then the resident can monitor the use of electricity from the fuel cell and the connected grid to see if they're saving energy or not. And you can actually even see how much energy you are buying from the grid and how much energy you're selling to the grid. So then Japanese government targeted 53,000 usage rate of this home use fuel cell by 2030. I think that's it. So I will just pass it over to Andrew. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sho. There's a question in the chat. Or Mark, did you want to?
Sure,
yeah,
I'll ask that. The concept of putting hydrogen into a gas stove and burning it seems counterproductive, given the inefficiencies of electrolyzing to create green hydrogen. You know, you use green electricity and then you turn around and make hydrogen at thermodynamic efficiency that's not very high, and then you burn it. It seems to me that an induction stove or a conventional electric resistant stove would make more sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think it will be really dependent on the structure of the cities. So for example, like even in Japan, some houses is all electric. So if the house already has established electricity line, probably like they wouldn't be able to use a mixture of natural gas for cooking. But still, I think the gas line, it's spread everywhere, for example, in Japan. So I don't think government will kind of try to just break them down and rebuild any new electrification lines to each houses. So then in that case, they kind of try to find how they can enhance the use of hydrogen, then reduce the emission of CO2. Then basically, if they mix natural gas and the hydrogen, they can kind of reduce the amount of CO2 emission from just burning gas, because it's a little mixed with hydrogen. So they can just have less emission of CO2. I think that's
burning natural gas is not going to be an option if we're going to meet our 2050 targets, unless it's renewable natural gas.
So then another reason is that if like let's say like one area of residents, all they have fuel cell, and each fuel cell is connected to gas line, they can literally just supplying hydrogen directly to fuel cell using the gas line. So then basically, if fuel cell is using hydrogen from natural gas, there should be some CO2 emission because they have to convert natural gas to hydrogen. then they can emit CO2 from natural gas. But if they can use a mixture of natural gas and hydrogen, again, they can kind of reduce the emission of CO2 because there's some percentage of hydrogen in the supplied gas line. So that in that case, each houses will have less emission of CO2 by using the fuel cell, although it's connected to the gas line. I think I guess that's one of the major reasons why the government tried to use the mixture of natural gas and hydrogen.
Okay, the second question, if you don't mind, for light vehicle transportation, I would say the case is clear now that battery electric vehicles are the more efficient and green approach. My son drives a hydrogen car in California, and he's ordering a Tesla. So I think the inefficiencies of creating the green hydrogen, well, in his case, it's not even green hydrogen; it's gray hydrogen. Just don't make a lot of sense. I can see hydrogen for industry, processes like steel making, and for heavy transportation, trains, transport trucks, and so on. I'm dubious about it for home use or for light vehicle, but that's just my reading of the tea leaves.
I think even actually Toyota, they already produced a fuel cell vehicles, but they're still working on producing a lot of electric vehicles. They even said, oh, we don't mind people using either fuel cell vehicles or electric vehicles. So then I think the urban city, there will be only e-pallet, which is electric vehicle going around the town. Then I think Toyota still thinks in short distance, electric vehicles will be more suitable. Then if people want to go farther, or if they want to use fuel cell vehicles for more a heavy duty usage, I think they think fuel cell vehicles have more benefits over battery electric vehicles. So we're going to see how Toyota is going to differentiate the use for fuel cell vehicles and the battery electric vehicles based on their efficiency, I guess.
Thanks, Sho. And on a kind of somewhat related note, but not really, I found my notes here for the 3 pilot cities and the clusters that they're building in Korea. So I'll just read it off if it helps to understand how different people are approaching generations. So for the clusters, in North Jeolla, and I apologize for the pronunciations, in North Jeolla province, where the nation's solar farms are concentrated, the industry ministry will construct an electrolysis facility, which will break water into oxygen and hydrogen using clean electricity generated by a 100 megawatt solar farm located in the nearby Samajiam reclamation area. So one province is going to go for green hydrogen. In Incheon, the ministry will collect biogases from landfills and produce hydrogen. The Incheon cluster will also produce blue hydrogen from fossil fuels. And then the last one is the Gangwon province cluster, and it's going to serve as a hydrogen storage and transportation hub with plans to build a liquid hydrogen plant due to its proximity with a liquefied natural gas terminal on the coastal city. So I think they're approaching, for Korea at least, the strategy, the stimulus package is framed under low carbon stimulus package. And I don't think they're in a position to make every single generation or every single integration just purely green hydrogen. It's going to be a mix of green and blue hydrogen. Sho, you have quite a few questions in the chat. Would you rather me read them, or are you okay to read it out and then answer? So we did Mark, Spencer sharing an article, and then David is asking, where do you see the mix between government policy and private initiatives? For example, Toyota's push to make a hydrogen city work? What incentives are needed?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure how much Toyota is trying to get the support from government in this case, because basically this is built by Toyota only. So then what incentives? Incentives, right? Well, like basically like a Japanese government policy related to hydrogen is more like how they can supply hydrogen from like overseas. Then they really try to reduce the cost of hydrogen, because right now the cost of hydrogen is much more expensive than like the gasoline. So they really try to get really cheap source for hydrogen from, for example, Australia. Then, yeah, I'm not really sure. Sorry, sorry about it.
Something to look into. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
And I too don't know how Toyota can just go out and build a city, but they can. And my question, I'm sorry to clarify, you're from Japan, right?
Yes.
So culturally, are you, and now that you've lived in Canada for quite some time, do you find there's a cultural appetite in Japan for hydrogen or renewables that is different to Canada? Like, are you able to comment on that? And then I'm asking just because I find that Toyota Woven City initiative like so progressive and ambitious. I don't think that would fly in Canada. I really like Sidewalk Labs couldn't even take off, let alone, and that was just a 2-block project. And then in Japan, they're going to go and build a 700,000 square meter city.
Right. Well, to be honest, like in terms of culture, I don't really see any reason why like a Japanese people really willing to develop a hydrogen cities, why Canada not. Like in my opinion, like the Canada has already had a lot of renewable sources. Then even the power source for electricity generation is, I don't know, like a 60% or over 60% is renewables. So like if Canadian government really try to push the introduction of renewables, then they set up infrastructure to efficiently use the electricity from renewables. I feel like it's really feasible to achieve 100% renewables quite quick. So always I'm really wondering why Canadian government does not really try to develop, I don't know, hydrogen infrastructures or more like electrified network using renewables. Then one of the major reasons why Japanese government and a lot of Japanese kind of really willing to see the hydrogen cities that we have been like trying to reduce the amount of energy use. Then also like we kind of, yeah, like a Japanese people really, we have a lot of nature, so we kind of do care nature. I think the Canadian does too. So always we try to reduce the amount of CO2 emission. Then the using hydrogen is, it's been talked about it for a long time, but just because we didn't have enough applications, enough technologies that we can utilize hydrogen efficiently. So then Toyota just started making fuel cell cars. Then a lot of companies jump in the ball. Then they started working on a lot of fuel cell related technologies. Then now, as I said, we have a lot of companies offering home use fuel cell. So right now, hydrogen is really close to our lifestyle. So that's why we don't really have.
Yeah, and it's not like that in Canada. Like hydrogen
exactly.
is nowhere near a lifestyle
exactly
option. Thank you, Sho.
Yeah.
Harriet, this was a comment, I guess. Gavin, have you seen any research covering, I guess this is to you, Sho, for your PhD, but also to the group, right? Like if
Sho
anyone else
into
has.
Brent into
Yeah.
Ted.
Have you seen any research covering the storage of CO2 from the production of blue hydrogen, specifically covering how much CO2 leaks?
Storage of CO2. I know like I think the major way to store CO2 is CCS. So basically when they producing hydrogen from natural gas or whatever fossil fuel, they're just going to put CO2 back in underground. Then they're just going to keep it underground for a long time. Then that's how they try to make blue hydrogen. I don't know, like that's only the method that I know.
Yeah, Brent, anyone else? Did you want to share any comments on the questions that are in the chat?
I have heard of some research on blue hydrogen. I haven't done a whole lot of digging into it, but there is sort of a life cycle analysis that says that there is a fair bit of methane that is released during the process. I think that things are improving in the making of blue hydrogen. I think carbon capture and storage is getting better, but there is still concerns about the fact that you've still got to transport natural gas around, and you've still got to manage it in terms of in the facility. And it's the methane release that's primarily an issue, as far as I understand. There is a major combustion process that occurs in making blue hydrogen. And that combustion process has the potential to result in the release of methane in the process if you have incomplete combustion. So I think that's the issues that have been discussed in the research I've heard. So
thank you. Gavin, did we answer that?
Not completely. I do recognize that methane leaking is going to be a lot worse than CO2, but you know the underlying principle of blue hydrogen is that you put the CO2 back in the ground and it stays there forever. What I'm interested in is, has anybody researched whether or not it stays there forever? Because I don't believe it stays there at all. Especially when you use it for oil recovery in an oil field where you've drilled 2,000 holes through the cap rock. You know, they're going to leak like a sieve.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more in that. This whatever recovery enhancement using CO2 is totally an oxymoron. It's the stupidest idea there is. No, I mean, it raises the other issue, which is how many really good salt caverns can you find for carbon capture and storage? And you know, all of the research I've seen says that all of the capacity that's available would be used up in a matter of a few years if we just relied on salt caverns for carbon capture and storage. So it's a very limited option in terms of avoiding CO2 emissions from making blue hydrogen.
And so therefore it really is a non-starter, because if you can't store the CO2 permanently, it's going to end up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, now there is research out now, which is I know off the West Coast there are, I guess it's there are minerals in the seabed that supposedly would absorb all of the carbon dioxide that could ever be produced. But you still have to get it there and inject it into the seabed, which apparently basically reacts with the carbon dioxide and turns it into basically a carbonate that's permanently stored. So there are options for storage that are being looked at that are much more promising than the salt cavern solution that has been kicking around. But that's current research, and how you go through the logistics of getting the CO2 there is a question which you know, I think still needs to be answered. So I was on Quirks and Quarks recently too, by the way. Quirks and Quarks.
Brittany, did you have any comments? I saw you turn on your video.
No, and I don't know enough technically about the area of carbon capture, sequestration, and storage, but I know another area that a lot of people are exploring is sequestering or like putting that captured carbon into products, you know, like into cement and so
Yeah,
on. And
I've even seen soap.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's, again, I don't know how effective that is. Like if it releases, if it's still releasing some of that carbon over time, someone would have to bring that technical information to me. But there is something that strikes me as a bit backwards about this notion of, oh yes, let's just put it into another product. There's something that's kind of right about that in a way, like if we're going to be making cement anyways. But I wonder about, well, how much cement do we need to make in order to put away so much carbon? If that balance ever gets out of hand, where we have really more CO2 to put away than we have need for cement to put it into, or whatever other products. I don't know if that, maybe that's not even, maybe that's just a hypothetical question that's not even really a concern in reality. Like, but if by chance that might be reality, you know, that there really could be more captured CO2 to put away into products, and then would that just perhaps drive consumption of again more materials?
Yeah, it
there's something
probably
a bit
would.
backwards about that.
Yeah, it probably would. I've thought about that too, especially when it goes into consumer products. Like,
yeah.
But the reality, like what we talked about in our first meeting in February, was how the nature of learning about hydrogen is just so technical, and the government and other groups haven't really made an effort that I consider an effort to make it more accessible to people. So at the same time, I can see how the consumer product line opens up carbon repurposing, carbon capture, carbon conversion to a group of people that normally like wouldn't learn about it. So there's the behavior change element, but we have a couple, I think we're running towards the end of our time, but we have some from Spencer. So he has shared an article about Toyota and their PR. And then he has a question for Sho. What is your research looking at? Are there some interesting making hydrogen tech that you are looking at?
Yeah, I can quickly comment on that. So basically, I'm not really doing any research related to hydrogen right now. I used to work on some hydrogen production using alkaline water electrolyzer. Then I was kind of trying to make some electrodes. But in terms of some interesting new tech related to making hydrogen, I thought the company in Lancaster I mentioned, they tried to make green hydrogen using plasma. Though basically they make really intensive plasma, then using some atmosphere, some, I don't know, like the catalyst in the system, they basically disintegrate any materials like a papers, fabrics, as I said, then they can actually make syngas from any like waste, like papers and fabrics. So I think that's kind of like a new tech coming up related to making hydrogen. But I hope there will be some more interesting way to make hydrogen in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, then then that will help us to develop like a greener hydrogen societies in 10 years, 5 years.
Thank you. Chad said thank you. I think he had to step off. So we're kind of at time right now. It's 9:30. Why don't I take, Brant, go ahead. You can just unmute your mic, and then that'll probably be it for today's meeting. But thank you so much, Sho, for your time. Brad, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say quickly, there was a question very early on in today's briefing about what's Canada doing. And there is a fairly significant Canadian-German partnership going on right now that IRAP is overseeing. It involves engaging SMEs in Canada and SMEs in Germany and basically supporting research into utilizing what can we do, how can we develop hydrogen energy in Canada and in Germany. And Germany has a huge program right now. Germany is way ahead of what's going on in Canada. But the partnership is encouraging, and the fact that Canada sort of jumped to the call. And we've been working together with Germany for 40 years, I think, that initiative. Sort of its 40th year or something like that of collaboration around this. That's very
the
hopeful.
government of Canada, or is it?
It's government. It was originally initiated through NSERC and IRAP.
Okay.
And NRC is involved. So to form a partnership right now, you have to work with an NRC researcher plus an SME in Canada. That's if me as an educational institution wants to participate. And we have colleagues in Germany, in Jülich, Germany, that are basically doing the complementary thing in Germany. It's looking promising. It's looking encouraging. We're excited. But it goes further than that as well into what IRAP is supporting, as far as I understand. Okay.
I mean, that's the international agreements, Brian. Those can be quite useful certainly at the foreign end. At the Canadian end, there's still the valley of death. And while we support, as you well know, so many small to medium-sized businesses, getting them to that commercialization stage requires a lot more funding, and we'll see if the government steps up to that challenge.
Just to jump in for
right here today. That's good.
Just to jump in for a second here, the Canadian company out of Ottawa, Plasco, that was big into the plasma transformation of waste into energy. Not sure where they are. It's a long time ago when I was doing some stuff with them. But lots of technologies that have been around a while. We just got to figure out how to make the right ones commercializable. And back to Harriet's comment.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. And I'll see you, Harriet, when's our next Switch meeting?
It's next Friday. Next Friday at 8 a.m.
And who's our speaker?
Oh, I had that a second ago. I think.
Or David?
RMC Green Team is going to be.
Oh yeah, the RMC Green Team. As far as saving money.
For those of you from Ottawa, elsewhere, RMC being Royal Military College, and our Switch open meeting will be next Friday at 8 a.m.
Yeah, and I'm going to thank Carrie, who's on this call, for setting that up for us.
Awesome. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. Sho, thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.